this cartoon, and I'm like, oh man, the stuff that I used to do as a kid is now turned into a job. Because when I was a kid, man, when guys were out dating girls, I was in my room. Wait a minute, I was doing voices in my room. But I used to...
sound any better.
I know, that's the thing. And so I was doing these voices from movies that I loved, and cartoons that I loved, and all of this stuff with a buddy of mine. And you guys remember the Talk Boy? Has anyone seen Home Alone 2?
Yes.
The Talk Boy that he uses?
Yeah.
I had one of those. And so I would like record into that and play it back. Record into that and work on my impressions and play it back. And you still have one?
I still got one at the house.
I have one too.
Wow. Long distance high five.
It's my heels.
So I would do that. And so I didn't realize that one day I could be doing this in a mic. It just didn't occur to me. And so actually, I used to do Star Wars, and I would do a lot of the various characters there, and I was supposed to be, I was up for C-3PO in this new Star Wars game coming out, because Anthony Daniels, who does C-3PO, didn't want to do it. And so they said, try it, do it, and I did the audition, loved it, said, sounds just, like actually the developers were like, did you get Anthony, you know, and so they loved it, and so I was on my way to the studio, driving there, and I get the call. And they said, Anthony Daniels changed his mind, he's going to do it.
Aww.
So I didn't get it.
Question.
The role. Yes.
Can we see that, hear that C-3PO impression?
Yeah, it's so different with, I need to practice. I'm not fluent in the 6 million forms of communication, unfortunately. That will be on my Facebook. When I can get into the environment. So I did that, and I landed Suzuka. And then this is how I met Vic. So I'm in the green. So we, in the old building of Funimation, we were in a little rinky-dink. We shared a building with a bank, Coldwell Bank, because the dude that owned Funimation also owned that building. And so you walk in, and if you walk in that door, our offices are this way, and on the same floor is the third floor. On the same floor that way is the bankruptcy clinic. So there's a bank downstairs. On the third floor there's us, and then there's a bankruptcy clinic. And so some people are happy going in, some people are sad going in. And so those are the bankruptcy people. And so we had the third floor, and then we had the floors above it for our offices. And so it's a very small building. Now we're in a 48,000 square foot facility with 10 studios. This is a big difference. I mean, 48,000 square feet. I mean, we're talking. I mean, that's a little bit smaller than like a super Target. So we're in a building that huge. Do we need that much space? My personal opinion, the opposite of yes. But it's not my building. So we're in this building, and I'm in the green room. And when you're not recording, you're in the green room. You're just kind of hanging out and you're waiting. And so there is a dude that walks in with torn jeans and a leather jacket on and blonde frosted tips. And he walks by, and I forget if he says anything to me right away. I don't think he does. And meanwhile, keep in mind, I haven't been at Funimation that long at all. Like, I'm still like in the phase of like, you know, it's like that first date phase where it's like those things that annoy you 2 years in don't really annoy you at this point. You kind of put up with them, and you like them. They're cute things that later become a problem in your relationship. But at first they're really cute, and you don't say anything about it. And so I'm still in that phase, so I'm kind of like looking around and like saying hi to people, and you know, just being very open and courteous. And now I'm a tyrant. Now I run through there, mostly naked, and I pick fights. But no. But so they're doing this show. They're working on a show called Tsubasa Chronicles.
Yes.
And Chris Patton is in the role of Faye. So, and Vic is Watanuki. So in this Tsubasa Chronicles, the only crossover, they cross a lot in the manga, but in this show, Watanuki has one line. And so Chris Patton had to leave and go do something else. He couldn't do the show. We're 14 episodes in. And at this point, recording an episode takes a long time because we're still doing paper scripts. Now it's all digital. So now it's like, here's a monitor that you watch the video on, here's a monitor with the script, and the director can make changes here, and it shows up on your script. But back then, it's like, where did you go to, geez? Back then, they had to print it out and get it to you, or you had a pen and they crossed it out and they make changes, and boom, there you go. It took a long time. And so being 14 episodes in on a 26 episode show, that's a big deal. Lots of money has been spent on producing this show just from a business perspective. And, you know, you're kind of in the groove of it. He had to leave. So I'm sitting in the green room, and Colleen is directing. And Vic is in Studio D, which is around the corner from the green room. And she pokes her head in and she goes, "Todd, right?" I go, "Yes." And she goes, "Why don't you come in here for a second? I want you to read something for me." And I said, "Okay, great." The great Colleen Clinkenbeard. I didn't know her that well. This is before she was even Luffy. I was like, "Oh wow, Colleen Clinkenbeard. I've heard legend. I've heard legend of your tales." I bring sacrifice. And I go in there, and Vic is sitting on the chair, and I meet Vic. And I'm like, "Hello, Vic. You're Vic, right?" And he goes, "Yes, yes, Todd." Da, 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 da. And so we met, and that was it. And he sat down. And so she goes, "I want you to go in the booth, and I want you to read for this character, Watanuki. He's only got one line, no big deal, blah, 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 blah." Nobody knew that Watanuki was going to spin off into Hollick. And so I did the line, and it was just, yes. That was it. That was the one line. And he goes, "Great, done. You're Watanuki." And then Vic became Faye. Well, then little did we know that Hollick would turn into its own show. And then I would be Watanuki throughout that. So that was my first run-in with Vic. And we kind of became like connected throughout over the years. We're kind of like the Dukes of Hazzard, I guess. Because yeah, it's like
the Hardy Boys.
Yeah, the Hardy Boys. And so like Dukes of Hazzard is good though because there's the dark-haired one and the blonde-haired one, John Schneider. And so
blonde-haired one has an ego.
So we've kind of been bosom pals, I guess, bosom buddies, out on the concert and stuff, all the way up to Italia. With Italia, originally, I was England. And I recorded the entire show as England. I had finished the whole show as England. And the guy who was doing Italy dropped the show. He had to drop the show because he didn't, he didn't agree with kind of the humor and the satire of Italia. Well, but it's kind of like, for those of you that haven't seen it, it's kind of like a tongue-in-cheek. Everybody gets made fun of. It's not like vicious, poking fun and things like that. It's just satirical. But he didn't agree with it, and so he dropped the show, so they needed a new Italy. Well, this was a big ordeal, because we had already finished recording so much of it. Well, they wanted one of two people. Todd Haberkorn, Vic and yeaa. So, what this turned into was weeks and weeks and weeks of auditioning. We had to audition, and I auditioned, and I came in and I recorded a little bit of Italy, and then Vic had to come in and record a little bit of Italy, and and for various reasons, it just turned out that I would be Italy. But at first, when I auditioned for Italia, I had no clue. We never know about these shows before we audition for them. We have no clue what they're about. When someone came up to me and said, "There's a show we're getting called Soul Eater. You should look at Death the Kid." I'm like, "Who's that?" Soul Eater? Was it some food? What are we doing? And it just so happened that I got Death the Kid, but I can't skateboard to save my life. But with Italia, I didn't know what Italia was. I was like, "Oh great, lots of episodes, cool concept. The countries are personified by people. Okay, cool, great." So I studied all the accents. I have lots of literature and CDs and audio on accents, and I studied all the accents, these authentic accents. And so I walked in with all my accents. And so when it was time to read for Italy originally, before I got England, I read an authentic Italian accent. And I was like, and meanwhile, I guess let me back up before that. So bookmark in my nook, my mental nook. Let me jump back to how auditioning works so you understand why I didn't understand what Italia was. So, when we audition, we don't see the show, nothing like that. What happens is we get a binder, and it's got all the characters in the binder. Select major characters. And all you see is a description of the show, a description of your character, and a picture, and some lines. Lines, you have no context for the line. The picture, it's one picture. It's not the same as seeing the character move, Seeing it and hearing the Japanese version. We don't know what it sounds like. So you have to base your read of it based on this one picture. Now what I did when I directed, which I directed Shuffle, Some of Glass Fleet, Claymore, and D. Gray Man. When I directed those, I would take the actual footage and I would cut it up into clips, because I'm also a film editor, and so I would edit these clips. So if you came in, or if you came in to read for Death the Kid, I would pull up the Death the Kid clip when you're in the booth and show you what that clip is, so you can see Death the Kid move, see what his say-you sounds like, all that stuff, so you can approximate and change with your performance. So which I find is very helpful, but they don't do that there, because it's a lot of it's about a week's, another 40-hour week on top of that to do all that. So jumping back to Italia, I was doing these authentic accents. And then he says, try out for England, which he liked. And then he said, do you want to try out for Japan? And I said, no. I don't want to try out for Japan. And he goes, he thought that he had offended me because of the Asian thing. And later I was like, dude, I'm not offended. I just don't do a good Japanese accent. So, and so when I came back in that second time for Italy, I knew the score then because I'd recorded it already as England. And so I go, basically what you're wanting is my Mario voice. Mario. And so I really have Nintendo to thank for Italia. And he goes, yes, let's hear your Mario voice. I said, let's go. It's me, your Mario. And so he goes, yes, that's it. And I go, really? That's what you want? And he goes, say this line. I go, pasta! And then he go, great, done. There we go. And so that's how Italia came about. Yes, ma'am.
Could you do some of your accents, some of the other ones?
England was, let's see. Oh, everybody look, it's a flying mint bunny. The other accents I'd have to go and study, because I just studied them for that audition and we recorded the show over a year ago, so I'd have to go back and listen. But yeah, I had everybody's accent: Italian, English, Russian, yeah, German. Oh, my German accent was very high and up here. I did not realize what he would sound like in the booth. And so I didn't. And then he's trying to direct me with his German accent, and I'm like, meanwhile, all you see is one picture of a blonde-haired dude with his hair slicked back. How am I supposed to know he's this giant bit, you know? And so I think it worked out, though. Patrick is very, very good in that role. So, yeah, that began the voiceover career. And so with Suzuka, and then kind of the Watanuki, and then going into other roles. And I was very lucky, I was working all the time at Funimation. And that's when I quit my teaching job, because I had to make a choice. I'm like, do I keep doing teaching, because I was already getting a lot of flack from my principal. My principal was very unhappy with me, because when I first got signed on, I was like, now listen, I'm a working actor, or I try to be. There are days when I'm going to need to go to a shoot. And he goes, yes, no, great, a working actor in the classroom, we love it. He don't love it. When I went to do Mr. Knickerbocker for Barney, he did not like that. All the kids were having fun on set, all the principals were not having fun. And so then it came to the point where I had to choose, because I was coming into school with my voice gone. Because Watanuki is a hard character to do, because if you think about it, a typical character, a lead character, will have anywhere from 100 to 160 lines to say in an episode, and roughly 90 reactions. Watanuki had 265 lines an episode, and sometimes 150 to 200 reactions. Yelling. You know how Watanuki is bipolar, so he changes on the turn of a dime.
Yes.
Now, even more than that is Keroro from Sergeant Frog. Sometimes that is 330 lines an episode, over 250 reactions. So my voice was, there are certain things that I can't do with my voice anymore because of voice. And so I had to make a choice, and so I chose to leave the education field behind and go voiceover full time. And so I would do that. And so also at the same time I was doing movies and theater with my theater company. And also this kind of touches on what I know you guys wonder about late at night, is how do you get into this industry? Well, just talking on the theater side, nobody was giving me the opportunities that they all love